The morning the sun failed to rise, no alarms were sounded. There were no explosions, no omens, no divine proclamations. Only silence, heavy, absolute, unbroken. The world simply dimmed, and for the first time in history, humanity could not tell where night ended and morning began. At first, people waited. They believed light would return, as it always had. They stood on rooftops and hills, staring toward horizons that refused to brighten. The air was cold, thin, hesitant, as though the sky itself were unsure how to continue existing. Hours passed and dawn never came. Governments issued statements. Scientists proposed explanations. Solar anomaly, they said. Temporary atmospheric shift. But the longer the darkness held, the quieter their voices became. Power grids failed. Clocks stopped. And the human mind, so dependent on rhythm and repetition, began to tremble under the weight of uncertainty. Cities flickered with artificial light, neon replacing sunlight. Yet even electricity seemed afraid to shine too brightly. Shadows grew thicker, deeper, and more alive. The streets echoed with whispers, people claiming to hear the hum of something vast moving beneath the earth. Those who worked the late shifts noticed it first. Machines slowing without cause, metal trembling without motion. The world's rhythm was breaking apart, not in chaos, but in exhaustion. It was as if the universe itself had forgotten how to breathe. Among the billions waiting for answers, one voice began to record everything. Her name was Kalyra Dune, a maintenance archivist for the Global Solar Restoration Initiative, a title that no longer meant anything. She lived 3 kilometers beneath the surface, where the last reactors hummed faintly against the surrounding void. Her duty was simple: maintain the record, document the fall of daylight. Her first entry began like this: the sun has not risen for 19 days. Surface temperatures continue to drop. Communications with northern sectors remain unstable. The stars are visible through the haze, but they do not provide comfort. They look closer than before. In the quiet depths of her bunker, Kalyra watched the monitors flicker between static and faint spectral readings, pulses from the upper atmosphere that resembled no known pattern. She listened to the sound of generators, their uneven rhythm echoing like a heartbeat growing weaker by the hour. Above her, the earth itself seemed to shudder, and though she tried to ignore it, she could swear she heard something calling through the static, a voice woven between the hum of dying machines. A sound not made by anything human. The light had vanished, but something else had arrived in its place. Kalyra stopped sleeping on the 21st day. Sleep had become an indulgence for those who still believed there would be another sunrise. For her, it was an invitation to dream, and dreams were no longer safe. The few times she closed her eyes, she saw light where there should be none, shapes moving behind it, whispers that sounded like memory, but older, ancient, patient, waiting. The underground colony had begun to fracture. Food rations were still distributed with precision. The machines still functioned, but people had grown quiet. Conversations became murmurs. Laughter disappeared. There was nothing to joke about when the concept of tomorrow no longer existed. The air carried a metallic taste now, as though the planet itself was rusting from the inside out. Kalyra continued her recordings. It was her task, and duty was the last anchor left. Day 23. Reactor output stable at 43%. Signal interference increasing. Reports of auditory hallucinations spreading among engineering staff. I can confirm exposure. Faint harmonic tones embedded within static, repeating phrases that don't correspond to any known code. She paused the log. The sound again. That pulse. 3 long tones followed by silence. Then a word she couldn't quite understand. The instruments didn't record it. Only she could hear. It wasn't madness. She knew that because it was too precise, too deliberate. Madness doesn't wait for the perfect pause between electrical surges. The colony elders had forbidden discussion of the voices. They insisted it was stress, electromagnetic distortion caused by the planetary cold. But when Kalyra walked through the lower maintenance halls, she saw people pressing their ears to metal walls as if listening for guidance. Some claimed the voice spoke in their native tongue. Others said it sang. By the 25th day, the first disappearances began. Workers sent to repair broken filtration shafts never returned. Drones sent to retrieve them came back intact but silent. their audio logs corrupted by a low-frequency hum identical to the one Kalira had been tracking. It was as if the planet itself had swallowed them whole. The idea of surface exploration became forbidden, not because of danger, but because Command admitted they no longer had accurate maps of what the surface even looked like. The sky was changing shape, they said. Satellites reported unfamiliar constellations before transmission ceased entirely. Kalira started noticing something else. The hum had rhythm, a cadence that seemed to follow her breathing. When she held her breath, the hum paused. When she exhaled, it continued. Soft, resonant, almost like an imitation. She wondered if the voice in the static was learning from her. Day 26, she whispered into the recorder, her voice trembling. The darkness is no longer passive. It's listening. And somewhere beyond the walls, deep in the frozen crust of the planet, something answered with a whisper that sounded almost grateful. By the 30th day, the colony's clocks began to desynchronize. Time, once the last reliable constant, fractured like ice under pressure. Minutes stretched, hours folded into one another, and people no longer agreed on when now truly was. Kalira kept working, not because she believed it would matter, but because stopping felt like surrender. The hum had become a presence now, a second heartbeat buried beneath her own. Sometimes it echoed through the pipes when no machinery was running. Other times it seemed to vibrate inside her skull. In the communications chamber, she replayed one of the corrupted transmission logs. Through layers of distortion, a pattern emerged. Not random noise, not malfunction, a structured message, 4 tones, pause, then 8, then silence, then repetition. Binary? Maybe once, but this was different. It shifted each time she tried to decode it, as if responding to her attempts to understand. Each analysis changed the signal, like observation itself was reshaping it. When she told Commander Rin about her findings, he simply stared at her. His eyes were red, pupils dilated, like he hadn't slept in days. There is no signal, he said. There can't be. We've sealed all external channels. Then where's it coming from? Kalira asked. He smiled slowly, almost kindly. From where it's always been. Inside the dark. She went to the reactor core. The engineers had stopped maintaining it regularly. Too many had gone missing in the tunnels. The hum was strongest there, pulsing in waves that made the floor tremble. And when she placed her hand against the metal housing, the vibrations aligned perfectly with her pulse. For one brief second, she felt contact. Something vast and patient pressed back against her hand. Not hostile, not kind, just aware. Her recorder crackled to life without command. A voice came through the static, quiet, layered, neither male nor female, greater than, we are the memory of heat. We dream beneath the cold. Why have you forgotten us? Kalira fell backward, gasping. The lights flickered, the air pressure dropped. The voice faded, replaced by that rhythmic hum, faster now, almost eager. She ran from the chamber, heart pounding. But as she reached the corridor, she saw others waiting, dozens of workers standing in silence, faces tilted upward, eyes closed, listening. The hum was in them too. In the distance, alarm sirens began to wail. Power readings spiked, and somewhere in the dark above the colony, something ancient began to stir. The alarms didn't stop. They bled together into a single, endless tone that seemed less like a warning and more like a summoning. Kalira stumbled through the corridors, past workers standing motionless in trance. Their lips moved, whispering fragments of the same message she had heard in the reactor. Greater than, we are the memory of heat. We dream beneath the cold. The hum had become a pulse running through every wall, every pipe, every breath of air. It wasn't sound anymore. It was atmosphere. At the central core, the containment doors were open. No one had opened them. They had melted. Inside, the reactor no longer resembled a machine. The metal had reshaped itself into something organic, veined with red light, pulsing like muscle. Kalira stepped closer, unable to resist. The hum deepened, vibrating her bones. And then she saw them, figures suspended within the glow, hundreds of them, the missing workers. Their faces calm, eyes closed, bodies slowly dissolving into streams of light that fed the reactor. Her recorder switched on again. The voice returned, clearer now, resonating through her body. Greater than, you built your shelters in the ashes of our fire. You called it progress. We call it remembering. She tried to speak, but her throat locked. Tears burned her eyes from the heat that wasn't heat, just a memory of what once was. The voice continued. When the sun died, we waited. Not above, not below, within. We are the residue of creation. A surge of energy ripped through the floor. The station lights exploded in cascading bursts. Kalira clung to the railing as the entire colony shook. Screens flashed warnings, numbers she didn't understand. Containment breach, power overflow, life support offline. Then the hum shifted pitch. It wasn't chaotic anymore. It was melodic, a pattern of rising tones that resembled something ancient. A song. She realized the colony wasn't dying, it was awakening. The reactor had never been a machine. It was an ancient core, a fragment of the old sun's consciousness, buried deep beneath the world. Humanity had built its shelter on top of a sleeping god. Kalira's body trembled as warmth spread through her fingers, her veins, her thoughts. The air glowed, and for the first time in months, she saw light. True light, not from lamps or plasma coils, but from the world itself. Greater than, remember us, the voice whispered, and you shall not freeze. When she awoke, she was standing outside the colony dome. Above her, the horizon burned gold. A sunrise. Real. Impossible. Beautiful. She didn't know if it was morning or the end of everything, but as the warmth touched her face, Kalira smiled through the tears. The sun had not been reborn. It had simply remembered itself, and with it, so did humanity.